I want to give a little bit of Mordecai here. When we're going through this whole book, I want you to think about these little definitions I've put underneath each name. Ahasuerus being the spirit of the world and the worldly things. And we'll get to Vashti and the spirit of the victim. And Mordecai, the spirit of father, husband, redeemer. Esther, the spirit of the chosen or the bride. And Haman, the spirit of evil. So you'll see how this ties back in. We're dealing with not only a natural realm, we're dealing with spiritual realms. And so this book is about today, yesterday, tomorrow, because we're all dealing with these realms right now. These are all realms that we have to be challenged by and walk correctly in. Of course, not this one. We want to stay out of that realm. Okay? But you have to know about it to know how to stay out of it. Okay? Number one strategy, know your enemy. Okay, so Mordecai's name, he has the father's, they say the father and the son of so and so and so. So it says that Mordecai's name, this is where you start getting old and your eyes can't see where things are. He is the son of Jair, son of Shimei, son of Kish. Okay? He had this dream in the second year of King Xerxes. And that's pretty important, okay? Because you'll find out later that the dream actually comes true about 10 years later. So there's a time period here. He is a court official. He's already in the pretty high place in the palace. His father's names. Jair means enlightener. You are, by the way, you carry the names and the mandates of your ancestors, good and bad. So you want to get rid of some of that bad stuff, which is why we're all here. But we want to retain the good things. And so Jair, his name meant enlightener. And Shemi meant famous. And fame, back then was not like Hollywood today. It was a heroic thing that he was known for. And Kish means to ensnare, to bend like a bow, like an archer. And I like that because all these names Mordecai has to do in order to complete his call. So the dream comes in the Passover month of Nisan. Keep that in your head, that is the month that the Passover is held. 10 years later, the dream is activated, is coming into play. And it says that there is a little spring. Then, in its verse 10, and this is the dream in the first preliminary section. It's not into the chapter 1 yet. Then from its cry, as from a little spring, there grew a great river, a flood of water. I want you to think as we're going along, who might that little spring be? Who might that be? What is it? The dream is also apocalyptic. In other words, it's still going on, and it's still speaking. We're still dealing with these types of things on the planet today where, people are being killed or famine, and what will we do? What is that little spring that changes it? What's that little spring? Okay, we get down to a plot against the king. Haman is lodging at court. I like the word lodging. Reminds me of a hotel. Doesn't sound like he was going home every day. So he was placed, and he had information about 2 eunuchs that were going to assassinate the king. And he intercepts that. Now, there's more about that story, but what's important for you to know is that in verse, I can't read the verse. Well, down at the bottom, it says, but Haman, son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, who enjoyed high favor with the king, determined to injure Mordecai in revenge for the fare of the king's 2 eunuchs. That tells me he was in on that. Haman meant to assassinate the king. And somehow or another, Mordecai stopped it. So What's the spirit of evil want to do? Doesn't like this, even though it'll cooperate with it and seduce it. He meant to take out the king. You can kind of understand why 2 eunuchs might be mad. I want to embarrass Corey, but after Corey read the whole book, I said, so what stuck out to you the most? And would you say, Corey, you want to grab the mic?
I can.
Come on.
Run, Corey.
Come on, dude.
Run, baby, run. I am a man.
Okay, then do it.
Yeah, Corey. You know your mother, she's determined.
All right, so after I finished the book, I started thinking, wow, it would have really stunk to be one of the eunuchs. I mean, first you have your pride removed when you're about 13, and then you have to go serve this guy who you really hate for a long time. So,
Yeah,
thought about that.
he was identifying with how a eunuch is made a eunuch. And I said, I don't need this. I said to him, so how would that make you feel? That's a terrorizing thing to have done to a man at 13. How would that make you feel? He's 13. He was mortified. And I said, well, he goes, Mom, you would lose your pride. I love that. He seems to understand that his masculine sexuality is a place of holy pride. I like that. So this king was a sexual abuser for his own purposes. It's wicked. Like I said, I could see where a couple eunuchs were mad. So going into chapter 1, there's a party going on right here. Like we said before, there was a party. Lots of dignitaries from all over were just whining and dining, and he was displaying all this wonder and his wealth, and it was beautiful, and la la la. And there was another king in one of the stories who, what's his name? Someone help me. Who he displayed all of his riches to another foreign king, and that foreign king went, oh, I think I'll go take it all.
Was it Hezekiah?
I think it was Hezekiah. So getting back to another king, that's kind of a braggart place. Look at all I have. Look how great I am. And you know, this is going on, and they're all sucking up to it, and and then we have Vashti. Brian and I were reading this last night. It was kind of cool because we saw something we hadn't seen before. I kind of like Vashti. Now, a lot of people give her a really bad rap, but she did have a power that she used, and so one of the questions I have is, what power do you have under oppression? You have a power that you can exercise even when being oppressed. It might cost you your life, but you have a power. So ask yourself, what power do I have when I'm being oppressed or when I'm in an oppressive situation? Vashti knew she had a power. And what's interesting is the king's over here partying up with all the dignitaries, and Queen Vashti is entertaining their wives. Now, this is inference, like Betty said, but it doesn't say the concubines and her fellow harem gals. It says the women in the palace. And they were all these dignitaries are being hosted in the palace. And she was with them, entertaining them, okay? And so she was doing her queenly duties. And we've got a king who's wasted and wants to show her off, okay?